The missed flight Daniel ran through the shining halls of the Galactic Central Spaceport, his heart pounding like a drum. The ceiling above him was made of glass, showing the endless stars outside. Ships of all shapes and colors were lifting off, one after another, leaving glowing trails behind them. He clutched his travel bag tightly. If he did not reach the gate in time, he would miss his flight to Arendor 7, the trade planet where a new job waited for him. This was his chance to start fresh, his chance to prove himself. The loud voice of the announcer echoed through the air. Final boarding call for Flight X-39 to Arendor 7. Gate closing in 5 minutes. Daniel's stomach twisted. 5 minutes. He sprinted faster, weaving through crowds of aliens and humans. The spaceport was like a living ocean, filled with strange sounds and smells. Some aliens clicked their mandibles as they passed. Others, tall and scaled, spoke in deep voices that shook the air. Daniel ignored them all. His eyes stayed fixed on the shining blue sign that read, Gate 92. He was almost there. But then he heard it. A soft cry, a sound so fragile that it cut through the chaos around him. He slowed down, his ears searching. There, near a set of steps, an elderly alien woman was struggling with her bags. She had wrinkled silver skin and her back was bent under the weight of heavy cargo. One of her long arms shook as she tried to lift a bag that was clearly too much for her frail frame. Her legs trembled. The crowd moved around her, cold and uncaring. Nobody stopped. Daniel's feet hesitated. His gate was so close. He could almost see the boarding tunnel. If I help her, I'll miss my flight, he thought. His breath was short, his shirt soaked with sweat. This flight was everything. Missing it meant losing the new job, the new life. But then the old alien slipped, falling to her knees. Her bag scattered, rolling down the steps. Her voice cracked with pain. Daniel's chest tightened. He dropped his bag and rushed to her side. It's okay, I've got you, he said, even though she probably didn't understand his human tongue. Still, kindness needed no translation. He bent down, picking up her scattered belongings. The bags were heavy, filled with metal tools and strange glowing stones. His arms burned as he lifted them, but he didn't stop. The old alien looked at him with tired, watery eyes. She whispered something in her own language. The sound was shaky, but Daniel could feel the meaning. Gratitude. Together they climbed the steps slowly. Each step felt like time slipping away. The announcer's voice returned, sharper this time. Final boarding. Gate 92 closing in 2 minutes. Daniel gritted his teeth. His legs wanted to run, but he stayed by her side. He helped her balance, held her arm, carried her bags. Sweat ran down his forehead as he forced a smile at her. At last they reached the top. The old alien gave him a soft nod. She tried to bow, but he gently stopped her. Don't bow. Just be careful, all right? He said, though he knew she could not understand. He turned then, heart racing. He sprinted toward Gate 92 with all the strength left in his body. His bag slapped against his side and his shoes pounded against the floor. When he reached the gate, the doors were sliding shut. Wait. Please wait. Daniel shouted, waving his arms, but the alien attendant only gave him a cold stare. The heavy doors locked with a metallic clang. Through the glass, he saw his flight drifting away, engines burning bright as it left the dock. His breath caught in his throat. The sound of departure thundered in his ears. He had missed it. Daniel fell against the wall, chest heaving. His dream job, his future, everything he had worked for, gone in an instant. Around him, a few aliens chuckled, shaking their heads. Stupid human, one whispered. Always too soft. Helping the weak has no profit, another hissed. Their voices cut like knives, but Daniel ignored them. He sat on the cold floor, his hand covering his face. He wanted to scream, but then a shadow moved beside him. The old alien he had helped was standing there, her silver skin glowing softly under the port lights. Her lips curled into the smallest smile. She placed one frail hand on his shoulder. In a voice that sounded much stronger than before, she whispered in broken human tongue, "One day, you will see. This choice changes everything." Daniel froze. His eyes widened. He wanted to ask what she meant, but she was already turning away, disappearing into the crowd with surprising speed for someone so old. He sat there in silence, his heart beating faster now for a different reason. Something about her words felt heavy, important, like a puzzle he could not yet see. The gate was closed. His flight was gone. His future was uncertain. And yet deep inside a strange feeling stirred. A sense that missing this flight was not the end, but the beginning. Stranded in the unknown, Daniel sat on the cold floor of the spaceport, his bag beside him, his mind heavy. The great windows above showed endless stars, but to him they looked like tiny reminders of what he had lost. His chance, his job, his new beginning. All of it had flown away inside the glowing engines of Flight X-39. The spaceport around him was alive with motion. Robots hummed as they cleaned the shining floors. Aliens of many kinds passed by, tall and short, scaled and feathered, armored and glowing. Yet Daniel felt strangely alone, like he was the only one who did not belong. What have I done? He thought. His chest still carried the warmth of the old alien's hand. Her words echoed inside him. One day, this choice changes everything. But how could kindness replace a lost job? How could helping someone fix his broken future? Nearby, a group of aliens whispered to each other, their eyes glancing at Daniel. One of them, with green scales and sharp teeth, sneered. That human wasted his chance. Imagine missing a galactic flight for an old stranger. Soft-hearted fool. Daniel clenched his fists but said nothing. He was too tired to argue. Suddenly, a sharp metallic voice called out from above. Attention, passenger Daniel Reeve, please proceed to docking bay 47, a shuttle awaits. Daniel's head snapped up. His name here? His heart raced as he looked around. None of the aliens seemed surprised, but some stared at him with curious eyes. He stood slowly, confusion rising inside him. Docking bay 47, but I didn't book anything, he muttered. Still, his legs carried him forward. He followed the glowing arrows on the walls, each one pulling him deeper into the unknown. The corridors grew quieter as he walked. The sound of crowds faded behind him, replaced by the soft hum of engines and the faint buzz of neon lights. His bag felt heavier now, not from weight but from worry. Why me? Who would call my name? At last, he reached docking bay 47. The wide doors slid open and his breath caught. Inside waited a sleek silver shuttle, shining like liquid metal. Its hull carried no airline name, no markings, only smooth curves and glowing blue lines. 2 armored alien guards stood at the ramp, their eyes hidden behind helmets. They held long staffs that glowed at the tips. Daniel froze. His heart pounded. This must be a mistake, he whispered. One guard stepped forward, his voice deep and steady. Passenger Daniel Reeve, you are expected. Expected by who? Daniel asked, his voice shaking. The guard did not answer. Instead, he simply motioned toward the ramp. The other guard waited silently, not moving an inch. Daniel's mouth went dry. This wasn't normal. No airline worked like this. His mind raced with possible dangers. Kidnapping, scams, experiments. He took one step back. I think you have the wrong person, he stammered. I'm just a human. I missed my flight. That's all. The guard's voice grew firm, almost like a command. You are not mistaken. You are summoned. Step aboard. For a moment, Daniel wanted to run. His body screamed for safety. But then he remembered the old alien's eyes, the strange strength in her voice. This choice changes everything. Maybe this was what she meant. With shaking hands, he lifted his bag and walked up the ramp. The guards followed behind him, their staffs glowing brighter for a second, then fading. Inside, the shuttle was nothing like the crowded airlines he knew. The seats were wide, covered in dark velvet. Strange golden symbols glowed faintly on the walls. A soft humming filled the cabin like a heartbeat. As Daniel stepped in, the door closed with a hiss. The shuttle lifted smoothly, so gentle that he hardly felt it. Through the small window, he saw the spaceport shrinking behind him. He sat down slowly, his eyes scanning the empty cabin. No other passengers, no crew. Only silence. Then in the front of the shuttle, a large screen flickered to life. The image that appeared made Daniel's breath stop. It was her, the old alien woman. But she was not bent and frail now. Her silver skin seemed to glow like starlight. She wore flowing robes with jewels that shimmered like living fire. Her back was straight, her presence powerful. Her voice, clear and steady, filled the cabin. Human Daniel Reeve. You stopped when no one else did. You chose kindness over yourself. Do you know how rare that is among the stars? Daniel's lips parted, but no sound came out. His heart beat so loudly that it drowned out his thoughts. The old alien continued, her eyes sharp and bright. You think you missed your flight, but in truth, your real journey is only beginning. Daniel gripped the arm of his seat, his mind spinning. Who was she? Why him? The shuttle hummed louder, carrying him deeper into the unknown. The secret escort, the shuttle, glided through space, smooth as a feather on the wind. Daniel sat stiff in his seat, his hands gripping the armrests. The glowing screen in front of him showed the silver-skinned woman, no longer weak and frail, but regal, powerful and commanding. Her eyes shone like twin stars as she spoke. "Do not be afraid, Daniel Reeve. You are safe." Safe? Daniel wasn't sure. Nothing about this was normal. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. Who are you? Why am I here?" he asked, his voice small compared to the vast silence around him. The woman smiled faintly as if she enjoyed the question, but would not answer it yet. Instead, she said, "Patience. All will be revealed." Then the screen flickered off, leaving Daniel staring at his reflection in the dark glass. The hum of the shuttle grew deeper as it moved faster. Daniel's stomach tightened with each passing moment. He tried to calm himself by counting his breaths, but unease crawled up his spine. Finally, the shuttle slowed, and with a gentle thud, it docked. The door slid open, and Daniel blinked in surprise. Before him stretched a luxury cruiser far bigger than the shuttle. Its halls glowed with golden light, and the air smelled faintly of sweet flowers. The floor beneath his feet was soft, almost like walking on clouds. Everything about this place spoke of wealth and power. 2 more guards waited at the doorway, bowing slightly as he stepped inside. Bowing to him. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to laugh, but his fear kept the sound trapped inside. "Please follow," one guard said in a deep voice. Daniel obeyed, his eyes wide as he walked through the cruiser. Strange alien art hung on the walls, paintings that seemed alive, shifting and changing with each glance. A fountain of glowing water bubbled in the center of a hall, the drops rising and falling in slow motion as though time itself bent here. Other aliens stood along the path. They wore fine robes, jeweled crowns, and armor that shone like polished steel, and every one of them bowed when Daniel passed. Some even lowered their heads to the ground. Daniel's steps faltered. "Wait, and why are they doing that?" I'm just a human." The guard gave no answer. He simply motioned forward. At last, they reached a pair of giant golden doors. Symbols carved into them glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The doors opened slowly with a sound like thunder. Inside was a grand chamber. The ceiling stretched high above, painted with constellations that seemed to move like real stars. A long table made of crystal stood in the center, surrounded by alien leaders of many species. Their eyes turned toward Daniel the moment he entered. Some looked curious. Others looked doubtful. A few even looked angry. At the far end of the chamber, seated on a throne of silver and light, was the elderly alien woman. But now she was no longer a stranger. She wore a crown that glowed softly, and her robes shimmered like liquid starlight. She raised her hand, and the room fell silent. "Welcome, Daniel Reeve," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "You may wonder why you are here. The truth is simple. I am Serenia Valora, ruler of the Valoran dynasty, owner of the Galactic Flight Network, and guardian of many stars." Daniel's jaw dropped. He stared at her, his mind spinning. The frail old woman he had helped at the steps was a queen, a ruler. And more than that, she owned the very airline he had missed. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Serenia smiled gently, her eyes soft now. "You chose kindness when all others chose to look away. You carried my burden without knowing who I was. Such a choice speaks louder than any title or wealth." The leaders around the table murmured. One, a tall alien with blue horns, slammed his hand on the table. "He is only human." "They are weak, selfish, unworthy of galactic trust." Daniel flinched at the harsh voice. His heart pounded, but Serenia raised her hand again, silencing the protest. "He is more than human. He is proof that compassion still lives in the stars." Her gaze pierced through Daniel. "And now he must prove himself further." Daniel's breath caught. "Prove myself? How?" he asked. Serenia stood, her robes flowing like waves. "There is a trial, a test of courage, heart, and will. If you succeed, doors will open to you that no human has ever walked through. If you fail," she paused, her eyes darkening, "then your path ends here." The room fell silent. All eyes rested on Daniel. The weight of their stares pressed heavy on him. He felt small, lost, and terrified. But deep inside, a spark flickered. He had already lost his flight, his job, his future. Perhaps this was his only path now. He took a shaky breath, lifted his chin, and said softly but firmly, "Then I'll face your trial." For a long moment, silence held the room. Then Serenia smiled, her crown glowing brighter. "Very well," she said. "Let it begin." The shocking revelation. The chamber grew silent after Daniel's brave words. Every alien leader stared at him as if he had spoken something impossible. A single human, lost and stranded, now standing before rulers of entire star systems. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to lower his eyes. Queen Serenia Valora stepped down from her throne, her robes trailing like waves of starlight. The jewels on her crown glimmered with each step. She stopped just a few feet away from Daniel and studied him closely, as though she was reading his very soul. "You wonder why you are here," she said softly, her voice echoing through the hall. "You believe you are just a simple human who missed a flight. But the truth, Daniel Reeve, is far greater than you imagine." Daniel swallowed hard. I don't understand." Serenia raised her hand, and suddenly the walls of the chamber shifted. The constellations painted on the ceiling came alive, spinning and glowing brighter. In an instant, the chamber transformed into a massive star map. Entire galaxies shimmered around them, and Daniel gasped as if he were floating in space itself. The Queen pointed to a glowing cluster of stars. "This is the Valoran dynasty. My dynasty. For centuries I have watched over it, keeping trade and peace alive. The Galactic flight network you see is not just an airline, it is the lifeline that binds these stars together." Daniel blinked. The weight of her words pressed on him like gravity. "Wait, you own all of this? The flights, the ports, the networks?" Serenia's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Yes, the network is mine. But what I own is not important. What matters is who I trust with it. My heirs, my council, even my generals, they all failed my test. They passed me by when I was disguised as weak. Not one of them offered me kindness," her gaze hardened. "But you, a human with no ties here, stopped. You helped when you had everything to lose. That, Daniel, is why you stand here." The council erupted in angry voices. "This is madness," shouted the horned alien. "He is unworthy of such honor," cried another. "A single act of pity does not prove greatness." The room buzzed with fury, but Serenia silenced them with a sharp gesture. "Enough! His worth will be tested." "Not by words, but by actions." Daniel felt his knees weaken. "Tested? You mean the trial you mentioned?" The Queen nodded. "Yes, a trial of heart, courage, and sacrifice. If you succeed, Daniel, you will inherit more than wealth or ships. You will inherit trust, and you will stand as proof that humanity belongs among the stars." Daniel's chest tightened. Inherit? Did she mean? Before he could ask, the star map shifted again. A single glowing station appeared, floating alone near a broken star system. Parts of it flickered red as if it were damaged. "This is Station Orion 12, Serenia explained. "One of my oldest transport stations. 2 days ago it was struck by raiders. The engines are damaged. Hundreds of passengers are trapped. My fleets are too far away. If we wait, lives will be lost." Daniel's stomach dropped. You want me to save them?" "I'm not a soldier. I'm not even trained." Serenia stepped closer. Her silver eyes pierced his. "And yet you are human. Your strength is not in weapons, Daniel, but in choice. The same choice you made when you helped me. That is what these passengers need." He stared at her, his mind spinning. Save a station? Him? He had missed a flight only hours ago. He was no hero. He was just a man chasing a job. But deep down he remembered the way people had laughed at him in the spaceport. Stupid human, too soft. Maybe this was his chance to prove them wrong. Still, fear gripped him. And if I fail?" he asked. The Queen's expression grew serious. "Then their deaths will rest on your shoulders, and your journey ends here." The words hit him like a cold blade. Silence filled the chamber. Every alien waited for his answer. Daniel's hands trembled, but he forced himself to meet Serenia's eyes. "I don't know if I can do it," he admitted, "but I'll try. If those people need help, I can't just walk away." For the first time, the Queen's face softened into true warmth. "That is the answer I hoped for." She raised her hand, and a guard brought forward a sealed document glowing with golden light. She placed it in Daniel's hands. "This is your mission order," she said. "Take the shuttle. Go to Station Orion 12, save the passengers. Prove that your kindness was not luck, but the true nature of your heart." Daniel stared at the glowing seal. His fingers shook as he held it. Around him, the alien leaders murmured, some with doubt, some with anger, and a few with quiet curiosity. The Queen stepped back toward her throne. "Your trial begins now. May your choices shape the stars." The great doors of the chamber opened once more, and Daniel felt the pull of destiny calling him. He took a deep breath, clutching the mission order tightly. He was no longer just a stranded human. He was chosen, and the universe was watching. The grand test, the sealed order, glowed faintly in Daniel's hands as he walked out of the grand chamber. His legs felt heavy, but his heart beat fast with fear and determination. The words of Queen Serenia echoed inside him. Prove that your kindness was not luck, but the true nature of your heart. He boarded the silver shuttle once again. As the doors closed, Daniel sat in silence, staring out the window at the endless black sea of stars. Soon the engines roared and the shuttle sped through hyperspace, streaks of light flashing outside. Daniel opened the glowing document. Strange symbols floated in the air, yet somehow he could read them as if they were written in plain English. The mission was clear. Reach Station Orion 12, stabilize damaged systems. Rescue all trapped passengers. Return alive. Daniel let out a shaky laugh. Return alive. Easier said than done. Hours later, the shuttle slowed and the stars stretched back into their normal form. Outside the window, Orion 12 came into view. Daniel gasped. The station floated like a wounded beast, sparks flying from broken engines. One of its outer rings was completely dark, and smoke-like trails leaked into space. Red emergency lights blinked across its hull. Ships that tried to dock hung helplessly nearby, unable to connect due to damaged ports. Daniel felt his stomach twist. Hundreds of lives were trapped inside that broken metal shell, and he was the one sent to save them. As the shuttle approached, a voice crackled through the communicator. It was panicked, desperate. Unknown vessel, this is Orion 12 command. We've lost power to the main core. Fire is spreading through Section C. Life support is failing in several quarters. Who are you? Can you help? Daniel froze. His mouth went dry. He wasn't a commander. He wasn't a soldier. He was just Daniel Reeve, the man who missed his flight. But then he remembered the Queen's eyes, the weight of her trust. He took a deep breath and pressed the communicator. My name is Daniel Reeve. I was sent by Queen Serenia. Tell me where I'm needed most. There was silence for a moment, then a shaky voice replied, We don't care who you are, just hurry. People are dying. The shuttle latched onto a damaged dock with a metallic clang. Daniel grabbed his bag and stepped into the station. Smoke filled the air, stinging his eyes. The walls trembled with every explosion from the failing systems. Sirens wailed, red lights flashing like beating hearts. Aliens of many species rushed past him, some carrying injured, others dragging fire extinguishers. Their faces were full of fear. No one paid attention to Daniel. He was just another body in the chaos. Think, Daniel, think, he whispered to himself. He had no training, no weapons, but he had something else, human problem-solving. He spotted a group of alien children huddled near a collapsed beam. Their small voices cried for help. Without hesitation, Daniel ran to them. Using all his strength, he pushed against the heavy metal beam. His muscles burned, his breath came in gasps, but slowly the beam shifted just enough for the children to crawl free. Go, find your families, he shouted. The children ran off, their glowing eyes filled with tears. Daniel's chest ached, but his heart felt lighter. Minutes later, he reached the control room. Sparks flew from broken panels and alien engineers shouted in panic. We can't stabilize the core. If it collapses, the whole station will blow, one cried. Daniel looked at the main display. The energy readings were wild, unstable. He remembered the glowing stones from the old alien woman's bag, the same kind of crystals powering the engines. Why not reroute the power through the auxiliary conduits? Daniel suggested. The engineers blinked at him. That's impossible, the conduits are blocked. Then unblock them, Daniel said firmly. Send a team with plasma cutters. You don't need perfect systems, you just need enough to keep life support running until help arrives. The chief engineer stared at him, then slowly nodded. Do it, he barked to his team. Daniel grabbed a fire extinguisher and joined others fighting the flames in Section C. His lungs burned from smoke. His arms ached, but he refused to stop. He thought of every passenger trapped in their quarters, every voice begging for help. Hours passed like minutes. Piece by piece, section by section, Daniel worked beside the aliens, guiding them, encouraging them, refusing to give up even when hope seemed lost. At last, the core stabilized. The red warning lights faded to yellow. Life support systems hummed back online. A cheer erupted through the station. The commander's voice crackled over the intercom. "This is Orion 12 Command. To the human named Daniel Reeve, we owe you our lives." Daniel dropped the extinguisher, his hands trembling, sweat dripping down his face. He leaned against the wall, exhausted but alive. Back on the shuttle, as the station lights returned to normal, Daniel finally allowed himself a moment of rest. His body ached, but inside a fire burned stronger than ever. He had done it. He had saved them, not with strength, not with weapons, but with courage, determination, and the will to act when others hesitated. As the shuttle prepared to return, a sealed message appeared on the console. It bore the crest of Queen Serenia. Her voice echoed softly from the hologram. "You have taken your first step, Daniel. You proved that kindness leads to courage and courage saves lives. But your trial is not yet over. Greater tests await." Daniel leaned back, closing his eyes. For the first time, he did not feel like a man who had missed his flight. He felt like a man who had found his purpose. The dangerous trial. The shuttle glided away from Station Orion 12, its engines humming softly. Daniel sat by the window, his body aching from smoke and exhaustion. The cheers of the rescued passengers still echoed in his mind. He had done the impossible, or so he thought. But the Queen's hologram repeated in his memory, "Your trial is not yet over. Greater tests await," Daniel frowned. If saving hundreds of lives wasn't enough, then what else could she want from me? He whispered to himself. As if answering his question, the console screen lit up again. Queen Serenia's calm face appeared. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, and her voice was sharp. "Daniel Reeve, you proved yourself at Orion 12. But the raiders who struck that station are still free. They flee now to the Drask Nebula, where many innocent lives hide in colonies. If they are not stopped, destruction will spread. You must intercept them." Daniel's jaw dropped. "Me intercept raiders? I'm not a soldier. I don't even have a weapon." Serenia's lips curved into a soft smile. "You are human. That is enough. Use your courage, your wit. The galaxy needs more than weapons. It needs leaders who inspire." Before Daniel could argue, the shuttle changed course automatically. Stars stretched into streams of light as it leapt into hyperspace. Minutes later, the shuttle dropped out near the Drask Nebula. Daniel's eyes widened. The nebula glowed with purple and red clouds swirling like a living storm. And there, at its edge, 3 dark raider ships loomed. Their jagged hulls pulsed with stolen energy, and their cannons pointed toward a small colony station hidden in the clouds. Daniel's stomach twisted. "They're going to attack that colony." The shuttle system beeped. "Incoming transmission." The radar's screen flickered on. A scarred alien with burning red eyes sneered. "A single human? The Queen sends a joke to stop us?" He laughed cruelly, his fangs sharp. "Leave, little man, or we'll tear your ship apart." Daniel's hands shook. He wasn't a fighter. But he couldn't abandon the colony. He remembered the old alien's words. This choice changes everything. He leaned forward and forced his voice steady. "I may be just one human, but I'm not leaving. You'll have to go through me." The raider laughed harder. "Then you die first." The raider ships fired. Blazing plasma bolts cut across space, slamming into Daniel's shuttle. The cabin shook violently, alarms screamed, and sparks flew from the panels. Daniel gritted his teeth, gripping the controls even though he had never flown a ship before. "Come on, think," he muttered. His eyes scanned the console, searching. Then he spotted it, an override for gravity fields. He slammed the switch, and suddenly the shuttle spun sideways, the plasma bolts missing by inches. The raiders cursed as the human ship danced through space like a leaf in the wind. Daniel's hands moved fast, guided more by instinct than skill. He twisted, rolled, and ducked through the nebula clouds. Plasma fire chased him, but most shots missed. One raider shouted, "He's untrained. He's just lucky. Finish him." But luck wasn't all Daniel had. He had human creativity. He dove into the densest part of the nebula, where the plasma storms burned bright. Energy arcs leapt across the clouds like lightning. The raiders hesitated, too dangerous. Daniel smirked nervously. "Dangerous for you, but maybe not for me." He lured them deeper, weaving through arcs of lightning. One raider ship followed too close. A bolt struck it, tearing its hull apart. The explosion lit the nebula like a new star. "Impossible," shouted the scarred leader. Daniel's shuttle shook violently, but he kept pushing forward. 1 down, 2 to go. The second raider fired wildly, but Daniel cut engines suddenly, letting the bolt shoot past. Then he reignited the thrusters, blasting upward. The bolt struck an unstable gas pocket in the nebula, creating a chain reaction. Fire spread like waves, consuming the raider ship in a burning storm. Daniel let out a shaky breath. 2 down. But the leader's ship loomed larger now, its cannons glowing brighter. "You're clever, human," the raider growled, "but tricks end here." The shuttle shuddered as a direct hit slammed into it. Alarms wailed. Oxygen levels dropped. Daniel coughed, smoke filling the cabin. The controls sparked under his hands. He was running out of time. Then, through the smoke, he saw the colony station on the screen. Families huddled inside, watching helplessly. Their faces, fearful, fragile, hopeful, stirred something deep inside him. "I can't fail them," he whispered. Daniel spotted one last nebula storm forming nearby. If he timed it perfectly, he could use it. He gripped the damaged controls and pushed the shuttle forward, taunting the raider. "Come on, follow me," he muttered. The raider laughed, chasing close. Plasma blasts struck the shuttle, tearing chunks from its hull. The ship groaned under the pressure, but Daniel refused to stop. At the last moment, he dove straight into the storm. Lightning bolts flashed all around him, but he twisted the shuttle at impossible angles, weaving between deadly arcs. The raider followed, too arrogant to stop. And then it happened. A massive bolt of energy struck the raider's ship, splitting it apart. The explosion shook the nebula, and pieces of burning metal scattered into the clouds. Daniel's shuttle spun out of control, alarms blaring. His vision blurred as smoke filled his lungs. But with the last of his strength, he pulled the controls upward, dragging the shuttle clear of the storm. He gasped, coughing hard. The stars came back into view, the nebula behind him glowing with fire. The colony was safe. The raiders were gone. The communicator beeped again. The colony leader's voice trembled with relief. "Human Daniel Reeve, you saved us. We will never forget this." Daniel leaned back, half-conscious, his body weak. "Don't thank me yet," he whispered. "Just stay alive." His eyes closed as the shuttle autopiloted back toward the Queen's fleet. The unexpected inheritance. Daniel drifted in and out of consciousness as the silver shuttle carried him back toward the Queen's fleet. His body ached, burns marked his arms, and his lungs still coughed from the smoke. Yet, despite the pain, his heart carried a strange warmth. He had saved the station. He had faced raiders and survived. And above all, he had saved innocent lives. When he opened his eyes again, the shuttle was docking with the royal cruiser. The grand golden doors opened once more, and the same armored guards guided him into the chamber of the Queen. This time, the alien leaders did not sneer. They did not laugh. Their eyes followed Daniel with a new weight, some with respect, some with disbelief, some with silent envy. At the end of the hall, Queen Serenia Valora rose from her silver throne. Her crown shimmered brighter than before, and her eyes glowed like fire caught in crystal. She stepped down the stairs slowly, her gaze fixed only on Daniel. "Daniel Reeve," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "You were given a trial that would have broken seasoned captains, and yet you prevailed." Daniel lowered his head, unsure of what to say. "I only did what I had to do. People were in danger. I couldn't just watch them die," the Queen smiled gently, "and that is why you succeeded. Others would have sought victory for glory, for power, for greed. You sought it only to protect. That is the rarest strength of all." The horned alien who had doubted him slammed his fist on the table. "He is still only human. He is not of our blood. He has no right to stand here." But Serenia raised her hand and silence fell again. She turned to the council, her voice calm but sharp. "You speak of bloodlines and heritage. I speak of heart, and his heart has done what yours could not. He chose kindness when you chose pride. He chose courage when you chose silence." The Queen then faced Daniel once more. "It is time you learn the truth of why I tested you." Daniel's chest tightened. The chamber grew quiet, every alien leaning closer to hear. Serenia's crown glowed brighter, and her robes shimmered like liquid stars. The Galactic Flight Network is more than ships and stations. It is the lifeblood of trade, the bridge between thousands of worlds, the link that keeps peace across my dynasty. For centuries I have ruled it, but my time grows short. Her voice softened, almost sad. I searched for one who could inherit not just my empire, but my trust. My heirs failed. My council failed, and then A human helped me lift a burden not knowing I was a queen. That one act spoke louder than 1,000 titles. Daniel's eyes widened. His breath caught. Wait. Are you saying? Serenia stepped closer, her silver hand resting gently on his shoulder. Yes, Daniel. I am saying that from this day forward, you are not just a guest. You are heir to the Galactic Flight Network. My co-owner. My chosen successor. The chamber erupted. Some aliens gasped, some shouted, others shook their heads in disbelief. Daniel staggered back, his heart racing. Me? No, that's impossible. I'm just a man who missed his flight. I don't know how to rule an empire. I don't even know how to fly a ship properly. The Queen's eyes softened, and her voice was firm yet kind. Leadership is not about knowing every detail. It is about heart. About choices. You have already proven that you will choose life, compassion, and courage even when it costs you everything. She raised her hand, and a guard brought forth a glowing orb. Inside the orb shimmered hundreds of tiny stars, swirling like a living galaxy. This is the seal of inheritance, Serenia said. With it, your name will be written into the foundation of the dynasty. You will guide ships across the stars, and one day you will stand where I stand now. Daniel stared at the orb, his reflection dancing across its surface. Fear twisted inside him, but so did something else, responsibility. He thought of the children he had saved, the colony he had protected, the station he had helped restore. Slowly, with trembling hands, he reached out and touched the orb. Light exploded through the chamber, bathing every corner in golden brilliance. The stars inside the orb spread across the ceiling, forming constellations that sparkled with his name etched among them. Daniel Reeve. Gasps filled the room. The council members fell silent. Even the horned alien lowered his head, unable to argue against the glowing truth above them. The Queen's voice rose, strong and clear. Let it be known across the dynasty. The human Daniel Reeve, chosen not by blood but by heart, is heir to the Galactic Flight Network. His journey began when he missed his flight, and instead found his destiny. The chamber erupted in applause, not from all but from many. Daniel stood frozen, overwhelmed. He had wanted only a job, a simple life. Now he carried the future of stars. Serenia leaned close, her words soft for him alone. Do not fear, Daniel. You are no longer a man without a path. You are a guardian of many. You proved that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Daniel's throat tightened. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt something powerful, a sense of belonging. He nodded slowly, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. I won't fail you, the Queen smiled. I know. As the chamber lights dimmed and the stars above glowed brighter, Daniel realized the truth. His missed flight was not the end of his journey. It was the beginning of something far greater. He was no longer just a passenger. He was a leader, and the galaxy itself was now in his care.